And welcome back. And the focus of this second segment is on a very interesting initiative coming out of the Department of Youth Services. And we're joined by Youth Empowerment Coordinators Adriana Young and Andrew Dawson. Good morning and welcome.
Hey, good morning. It's a pleasure to be here.
Thank you very much for coming and sharing this information with us. So we're talking about a special kind of workshop for high schoolers.
Yes.
Let's talk about where this idea got started.
Okay, well, we had a task given to us as the officers at our office to come up with an activity for Women's Month. They gave us we had a broad anything we wanted to do, right? So as we sat down, we said, we could have done anything, but then we thought, as we talk about empowerment, we talk about doing the older women, probably in their 20s, 30s. However, as a youth office, we work with young people, and many of the times we don't realize that these young girls are the women that are going to be the women tomorrow. So we need to start at that base. So we decided to do a workshop for high school girls, talking about the early signs of domestic violence, because many of them don't even know that they are experiencing it at this very moment in high school.
This is interesting because there was a recent report that came out talking about violence and young girls, and I believe that one of the, I can't remember, I'm trying to remember statistics, I'm terrible at that, but I know that one of the things they were talking about is that very young girls, we're talking teenagers, are exposed to situations that are classified as violent. And it's not just being beaten to the point where visible scars or bruises exist, but it could be a bit of rough handling. It could be verbal abuse,
Exactly.
emotional abuse. These are things that I know you all have a direct contact with young people. It's very difficult for adults to understand that this situation takes place. So please tell me your experience.
For one of the things on the ground as a youth officer that we experience is, as you highlighted, majority of the young people are in these situations but aren't aware that they're in some of these situations, because they have this misconception that domestic violence is just physical abuse, while they're being abused verbally, they're being abused emotionally. And this generation now is this rough generation, so a little pull, a little tug here and there they think is okay. So one of the purpose of this workshop is to sensitize them on identifying when they're heading towards this type of situation in their relationship.
And what are they classifying this type of behavior as in the relationship? Do they really see this as normal?
Well, many of the young girls, why we're targeting young girls at the high school level, is that most of them are at that stage where they're starting relationships. And sometimes they don't realize that simple things like your boyfriend telling you can't hang out with someone or you can't be around this person is a sign of early signs of domestic violence. And they're telling them, well, I don't like this person, and if I see you with that person, it's going to be between me and you. And they don't see that as early signs of domestic violence when in reality it is.
So how do you propose to reach out to these high schoolers and help them understand how to look out for these signs?
Well, that's why we're starting this workshop. We're targeting the high schools and the young girls to talk about what are some of the early signs so that they are able to help themselves and also empower their peers. We can't reach every single person in the school, but by targeting a group, we can help them to help their others, friends at the school as well. So we're just trying to get the workshop off to talk about domestic violence, the early signs, when to leave if you're in a relationship, talk about the different kinds, because some people, like Andrew mentioned, they only think that domestic violence is pure violence or actual physical contact, and it's more than that. They have emotional, verbal, psychological, and we're trying to touch all that area so that they have a holistic understanding of everything, so that they know that, well, if they see their friend going through that, they could be like, that's domestic violence, or that's not a good situation for you to be in. So we want to try to educate them and empower them to know better.
Now, how have you requested from schools to be able to go in with this workshop, and what has been their reception?
For us at the department, we have a very great relationship with the school and the school counselors. Before the workshop has came to light, we continuously create relationship building activities with the schools, and we do different sessions within the school. We do different life skill sessions like conflict resolution, decision making, anger management, and so forth. So when it comes to the school being receptive to the workshop, it's kind of easier because it's something that they have identified being a problem within the schools and so forth. So they're open to it.
What's the most important information that you want the young girls to walk away with?
I think one of the most important thing that we want them to walk away with is, become empowered and to learn, like I said, mostly about this domestic violence. Because like we said, most of them have no idea really what it is. Some of them thinking that it's about their parents fighting and their dad beating their mom, and they don't think it affects them. But we're trying to bring them into the light where we realize that it does affect them, and they need to know when it is.
And it also will help them to identify when they're in the situation and to know, of course, one workshop wouldn't allow them to know everything about domestic violence, but it will give them a leverage to identify this is a problem and maybe I need to seek help, or I need to seek advice from someone else, or my counselor, my teacher, or someone who is confidential. And one of the things is we want to instill in them also confidentiality, because some people say, well, oh, I might not want to seek help because my information is going to come out, and everybody will know at school that I'm being abused, or my boyfriend is hitting me. But to instill in them that the confidentiality begins with them themselves, because they will go and some incidents, happen, and they will go, oh, I have to go, and they confide in other people, and that's how the rumors spread. So we want to instill confidentiality and feeling free to go out and say, well, something is happening to me, and I want help.
And also recognizing, because one of the challenges is moving away from the situation itself, but you also have to develop your own self-worth.
Yes.
Yeah.
So this is one of the things I know that you probably are going to work on within the workshop.
Yeah, we're trying to touch on self-esteem and empowering themselves as young ladies. What we're trying to do too, we're trying to make it as realistic as possible and trying to get them to actually see, not only listen, because listening, you could tell someone and they listen, but actually seeing and doing, you're learning.
Yeah.
So we're trying to do activities where they're actually interactive and they actually see in front of them what are the effects, and we're going to try to give them situations where if they stay, this could probably be what happens. Show them. We're not going to tell them. We want to show them actual situations, what happened.
Now, let me ask, I know you already have your workshop put together, and I think it's really important that you talk to young people at this age. But why not talk to the boys too?
That's a point that I was just about to touch on. We say females, but the majority is female, but we're still not leaving out the boys. We're slowly incorporating the boys into these workshops, because it's not only for a Women's Month thing, but it's something that is going to be continuous to measure impact. So at some phase, we will transition the young males into these workshops so that they could identify their roles within the scenario and the situations.
And because men can be victims of domestic violence as well.
Exactly.
Yes. And that's what we're going to say as well, because again, just like how teenagers might have the conception it's their parents or just young ladies, it also has to do with the effect on the males and also them as kids, as the children of their parents.
And of course, we want to balance out the equation.
Yeah. And also, I think the conversation has to be had with young men as well, as how to deal with the emotions they feel, and perhaps not to respond to using violence or manipulative behavior. Now, something like this can open a lot of wounds. This is obviously, domestic violence can be a cycle. It could be that they're seeing it in their homes. It could be that they have been victims for a while, or other forms of abuse. How are you maneuvering that aspect, the sensitivity of the issue itself?
Well, for maneuvering the aspect of the sensitivity of the workshop itself. We're trying to, as we say, touch on different aspects of domestic violence and then for identifying them. But for the open wound aspects, as I say, it's something continuous.
Yeah.
And we can't run from that. We can't deflect that. At some point, they would identify and say, might say, Mr. Dawson, my mom, I saw that same thing you're talking about with my mom and my dad and so forth. And how you think you could help them? And at that point, then we kick in as a department and make necessary referral or might approach them and say, okay,
and then you have the school counselors engaged?
Yes. Exactly, the school counselors have to be engaged so that they could do the follow-ups at the school, because we won't be at the school all the time.
And I think another thing is where we try to tie in the self-esteem, because while we're helping them, you know, they also have to develop their minds and, you know, their self-esteem. So I think that's where that part kicks in as well.
How many young people are you aiming to reach?
Okay, well, we're trying to aim, at the first stage right now, we're trying to aim for 5 high schools.
Okay.
Because how we decided on 5 is because we have 5 youth officers in our Belize City branch.
Okay.
And we are all attached to a number of high schools and a community. So for this month, we're trying to reach 5, and we asked each officer to identify one of their high schools that they think might be the best to start with. So each of us has identified one, and we will go from there. And from then, we hope to branch out to the other high schools so that we could reach more.
And when is this going to be held?
We're starting this week.
Okay.
Yeah, going on to next week. We're planning to do all 5 between this week and next week.
Okay, and it's going to be 3rd and 4th forms?
Yes.
Fantastic. Anything else you'd like the public to know about this workshop?
Well, not for the workshop specifically, but for the department, I would like to remind the public that we're in the process of registering youth groups at the department, and it is based on our National Youth Policy and our National Youth Council. And we would like to invite all the youth groups out there
to come and register. To
come at the department and register. And if you're not able to come at the department, you could give us a call at 207-6282 and ask for any other youth officers, and we will get the forms to you to register.
All right. Well, wonderful initiative that you guys are starting, and
thank you.
You know, it'd be great to hear from you once you've concluded the workshop as well,
no
just
problem.
how things went.
No problem.
Right? Best of luck this week.
Thank you.
All right, we're going to go ahead and take a final break. When we come back, we'll have our wrap up, so stay tuned.